Cuomo is currently under federal investigation amid accusations that his administration tried to cover up COVID-related nursing home deaths. And now, New York Assemblyman Ron Kim, a fellow Democrat, he says that Governor Cuomo called him and threatened to, quote unquote, destroy him after he spoke out about the scandal. Assemblyman Ron Kim joins us now. Welcome to the show, sir. Very nice to have you here today.
Thank you for having me on.
You now. Yes. Early on the pandemic, in the pandemic, Governor Cuomo got backlash for returning coronavirus patients to nursing homes. That was the first thing. Instead of keeping them in the hospital, he later reversed that order. But now he's in hot water again for undercounting the nursing home deaths by as much as 50%. And he's being accused of a cover-up, which he denies. Now, you publicly criticized him for this. Then he called you. Tell us what happened after he called you, or when he called you.
Yeah, so it was last Thursday night. I was about to bathe my 3 kids when I received a call from the governor. He spent 10 minutes threatening my career and ordering me to issue a statement that would be used to cover for the state secretary. The day before that call, the state secretary, Melissa DeRosa, had implicated his administration by admitting that they withheld life-saving nursing home data because they feared the information would be used against them.
Well, you hired a lawyer in the wake of this call. Why? What exactly did you understand Cuomo to be asking you to do?
I hired a lawyer after this call, not only after this call, but after many calls, many other attempts over the weekend. And this was a weekend for my family. It was Lunar New Year weekend. I'm spending my time, and I got about 8 phone calls from the governor and his staff. And I realized that he's continuing to ask me to cover up for his secretary. And I realized that at that point, I needed to get an attorney, which I did over the weekend.
No, Assemblyman, this is personal for you. Your Queens district has been hit hard by the coronavirus, and your uncle actually passed from presumed COVID in a nursing home last year. Mayor de Blasio called this story, quote, classic Andrew Cuomo, and said the bullying is nothing new. In fact, there are reports that you weren't the only lawmaker to receive a call like this. Has Governor Cuomo made threats of retaliation like this before, to your knowledge? And why do you think it was so long for people to finally come to this story?
Yeah, Cuomo is an abuser. He has abused his powers, and abusers are cowards, and he's worse than TJ Duplo. You know, the governor's abuse is not unique to me, and I'd like to point out that his staff even has previously called 3 of my colleagues, who are young women, the New York Times. But because the verbal violence against women is normalized, it's barely caused to start. So I'm going to use this time today to highlight it, though, because there are outspoken women in New York State who've taken this abuse as well and don't get the support that they rightfully deserve.
Assemblyman, I'm from Florida, and I think like a lot of our viewers, I don't know the backstory or the nuances or history here, but Governor Cuomo says he's had a long and hostile relationship with you. And a senior aide who says he was in the room with Cuomo during the call claims you're lying about the conversation. He also said it was part of a years-long pattern of lies by you against this administration. How do you respond to that? What's your response?
It's a classic Cuomo deflection straight out of the Cuomo playbook. And unfortunately, this playbook won't save the governor from the truth, which is that his administration's decision to force nursing homes to accept COVID patients, as you mentioned earlier, while handing out legal and criminal immunity. And then the subsequent cover-up of the true number of related deaths. That is a mistake they have to answer for. Those of us who lost loved ones as a result of these actions deserve the dignity of an honest answer.
I'm very interested in finding out what the federal investigations of this scandal will determine. And I'm so sorry for your loss. I too lost some family members to COVID during this crisis. I want to ask you this, though. The Trump administration and its coronavirus task force, led by Vice President Pence, with a separate team led by Jared Kushner, had such a limited federal pandemic response. And rather than have the federal government involved, the administration decided to have states largely fend for themselves, sometimes even pitting the states against each other for resources. Do you think the Trump administration bears any responsibility for this scandal and crisis?
Of course, there are plenty of things that the Trump administration did wrong. And for that reason that you just mentioned, that is why I stood up. I even argued against some of my progressive colleagues last year to give this governor the powers that he sought and an extra $40 million to get ahead of the curve. I even sponsored that bill, and he stood up, defended him in conference, in my Democratic conference, saying Washington is not doing enough. We need this governor. Whether you like him or dislike him, that's not the point. Let's get behind him, his experts, the commissioner. My constituents are scared. Let's give him a shot. A week goes by, 2 weeks, to 1 month, 2 months. I'm seeing what's going on the ground. There's no communication between the families and the nursing home directors, the Department of Health. I keep ringing the bell. What is going on? They're not answering. And then many months later, I realized that there was a massive cover-up of the data. This is a very, very important point, because if we had that information, if we had real-time data, we could have done our jobs. We could have legislated, and he took that away from us. We could have had a different outcome if we had all the information in real time.
Well, Assemblyman Kim, I think that Cuomo is a ghoul who belongs to step down after everything that has happened. I can't believe the media has let him get away with it as long as they did, but you are now working with other lawmakers to strip him of his expanded pandemic emergency powers. But Republicans in your assembly want to form a bipartisan impeachment commission to gather facts and make a recommendation. Do you think Cuomo should be impeached, and would there be Democratic support for that as well?
My colleagues this week from both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, have reached out to me. What's next? How do we get the impeachment process started? Taking his powers is not good enough. It's going to expire anyways. What are the next steps? So right now we're actively talking what that looks like. And people have also asked me, should he resign? And I think the Cuomo himself should be asking himself that question in this moment.
Assemblyman, before we go, there's something horrible going on in this country. We've seen a spike in violent, unprovoked attacks against Asian Americans. During the pandemic, we've even seen a woman who was knocked unconscious in your own hometown of Flushing, Queens. According to the NYPD, anti-Asian hate crimes jumped 1,900%. 1,900% in 2020. How do you feel about this, and what can we do about it as a country?
I spoke about this on the floor of the Assembly a couple of weeks ago, and we have a big town hall coming up this Sunday with the public advocate Jumaane Williams and my friend Andrew Yang. And we're going to continue to talk about it, but the way I feel about it is that we have to improve the social conditions that led us to this point. Oftentimes, when we look at these hate crimes, we individualize it. It's about individual hatred toward others, and that's not good enough. Those people reach that point of poverty and being pitted against each other because of the lack of investment we've had over the many years. And this also is directly related to Governor Andrew Cuomo, because he oversaw for 12 years an austerity budget that underinvested into our communities and our people. That is why we have to go back and invest in our people and improve the social conditions that lead to such violence.
Okay, well, I guess you'll be running for governor, huh, Assemblyman?
Guess they
Yes?
didn't get the Trump answer
I
they
am
wanted on
exactly
that.
where I'm supposed to be right now. I am the chair of the Asian Committee. I am doing my job, and I look forward to doing my job and fixing the problems that this administration put forward the last 10 months.
Right. Well, we want to thank you for coming on today. Our thanks to New York Assemblyman Ron Kim, and we'll be right back.